start saying, okay, I want to have a harvest this big. How many seeds do I need to plant in the spring to make sure that my harvest is a certain size in the fall? That's how a good farmer would think, right? So I want you to be a good farmer of your life. I want you to be a good gardener and steward of whatever reality you want to create for yourself. And I want you to back that out. I want you to say, okay, I want this and this and this. Usually it's something related to health, wealth, or relationships, right? I want to have a certain kind of relationship at this level. Um, what do I need to back out and sacrifice in order to make that happen? Maybe that means I gotta like, shut my mouth down and not talk as much as I do normally about certain things, or maybe I gotta take my time and pick women a little more carefully instead of just going after the prettiest thing I see on a Tuesday. Or maybe I have to learn how to be a better man. Maybe I got to go to the gym, make some more money, and learn how to communicate with women more effectively. I don't know, right? I don't know what your struggle is, but I can tell you that that basic idea of connecting what you want to what the sacrifice required might be is literally the formula to have anything that you want. If you're willing to sacrifice, if you get in the habit where you become literally addicted to sacrificing in a productive way, then you can be the most powerful person in your entire universe. You can literally have, I mean, this is really, and this is an area where I can say that, because I'm over 50 now, I've seen it in the good and bad way. I've seen times where I didn't get what I wanted because I wasn't realistic about the sacrifice, but I can think about times where I got something that was remarkable because I got hooked on the idea of sacrifice. I bought into that idea completely. Like I told our 14-year-old this morning, I said, I said, when you get older, because she was late to school today, so she was a little bit worried about that. But I said, don't worry about that. Let's just stop. You want to go to Starbucks? Let's do, whatever. Like when you get older, ain't nobody gonna care if you're late for school or not, right? And I said, because you're usually on time. And I said, when you get older, you're not gonna have anybody really telling you what to do. You're gonna be free. You're gonna do whatever you want. I said, but then what's going to happen is you're going to have things that you want in life. And you're going to realize that when it comes to freedom, freedom is something that you earn, and freedom is something that you have to defend. And the way you defend your freedom is through discipline. So even though you want to be free, do whatever you want, I said, there's a point where you're going to have to make a decision to just be disciplined so that you don't have to be disciplined by somebody else. Like you think about somebody, anybody seen somebody who's like wilding in the streets and just doing crazy stuff and using drugs and beating people up and doing stuff? What eventually happens? What happens to that person? They get locked up. They end up going to prison. And then the discipline is forced upon them because they can't discipline themselves. They have no self discipline, so they get public discipline. Or a person who is irresponsible with money, who doesn't want to work, who doesn't want to push hard to build their business, doesn't want to save, doesn't want to make responsible choices. Well, then they get disciplined. It's like, okay, now you must come to the corporate plantation. You must be here by 8 o'clock and you must stay till 5. And if we catch you being late or catch you not working, we're going to punish you, right? You're being disciplined because you were not able to discipline yourself. So I told her, I said, I want you to think about my life real quick. I said, I'm gonna lay something out for you. I said, do you think? I said, you see how early I get up every morning, right? She said, yeah. I said, do you think I have to get up at 5 in the morning? And she said, no. I said, yeah, I don't. Nobody makes me get up.